Hi everyone, my name is Jade Gatato. I'm coming to you today with a reading corresponding to the transit that is currently happening of Jupiter and Pluto ascent. It is a square of Jupiter in 0 degrees Taurus, while Pluto is at a 0 degrees in Aquarius. This square is very formidable just in the fact that one has to do with humanitarian work and the other one humanitarian work in technology, and the other one has to do with solitude, security, foundational work, independent contracting, with you and your higher self, the downloads that you receive, and all of that. So it's like you have these two corresponding alignments that are in disagreement with sort of the tact that you would carry out your plan. Now, the very familiar thing to get adjusted to is the fact that we're having a conversation with Sagittarius. The conversation with Sagittarius is relevant because of the fact that we are present with a planet that is ruled by Sagittarius. If we want to get into the exalted energies, we have a lot of water energy. We have Pluto with Scorpio, and Jupiter, when it's an exalted planet, it is found in Pisces. Now, this is going to be relevant just because of the sort of helpful obligation to remember where these planets are and feel most comfortable. As not just a planetary aesthetic personal reason, but as also a reason and common consensus that we formed as a society for that planet to do its most work. Just like anything else in the spirit world, in the material world, the planetary alignment is a resource that we get to cultivate and create adjustments toward and align ourselves to, so that everything is beneficial to what we have to offer. So I'm thinking the adjustments that you have to make toward success is in Pisces. Saturn is in Pisces right now, so this might be why I'm picking up on this energy, just as a clarifier. But and then I'm going to pick one for Pluto. Wow, we have the Knight of Cups for Pluto. Speaking of that water energy, so that's relevant. But because Pisces Saturn is in the conversation, a caveat to some adjustments that you are going to make for yourself is to not jump the gun. Be very fortuitous with your ability to not map out a scene, but be able to align yourself with the fruition of what you want to manifest. And if it's something that isn't for your highest good, it's kind of you're not nipping it in the bud, you're just not creating an initiative start. You're not going to begin a new chapter in a conversation because of the whims of the moment that you are a part of. So Pluto is going with that for right now. That's kind of the energy that I was picking up on. This might be the relationship that we're having with the fact that we have, this is the Venusian tarot that I'm reading from, but we have the Knight of Cups And he is like holding a chalice amidst people, and I think it's as a knight, especially one that's related to stagnant energy. You have the Knight of Cups that is willing to ponder upon specific things in private that would prove to be like more profitable or reap a better reward if it was brought up at a later time. So you're not thinking too much about like, oh my God, I want to bring this up just because like we could talk about it. But sometimes like conversations, you can like beat a dead horse and like always talk about the same thing and make no or little progress, and then just drive the conversation into the ground because there was no proper preparation for the reward of the conversation. That's what I'm picking up from Pluto and Aquarius. Like, we need to take time to set aside moments to ponder about things that we care about, ponder about things that are important to the fruition of our daily habits, our goals, our inspirations. And like, I'm not picking up too much upon family. Jupiter and Taurus getting the Three of Cups. The Three of Cups, there's a pattern so far, but it's not common amongst the rest of the cards, but amongst like the sociality, the association with social pattern here that is connecting Jupiter to Pluto in the alignment of the square. I feel like with this energy, we have a lot of faces that are covered. So it's like, maybe like, don't say you have to talk about the subject. Like, make plans, talk about other opportunities that are, I mean, this is more of something that you would plan. Like, if it involves greater planning, like you have to know about an event, you have to know about a speaker, you have to know about a specific organization that you have to go to in order to commit to the goal that you're making. This would be something that like you express interest in, but then follow up on later and show that you actually have interest in this, so that the people who you were socializing with aren't left in the dark or left behind, or conflated with the fact that it's like you continue to express interest, but you're not actually committing to the work that it takes to maintain its relevance in your life. Like, if this is a hobby, it's not a hobby until it becomes a regular practice. So what we're dealing with, I'm going to start going to the string of Sagittarius. We have the Eight of Cups. Lots of water energy so far. We have a man who's decided to embark upon a new embark upon a new journey of exploration, insight, and income potentially. But this card right now is in reversed, so the conversation is a little bit skewed to the point where it's like you have the premonition of the idea in your mind of what it is that you want to do, but it's the commitment that is the issue. And this is probably the square, because like you don't want to drag other people into it. Maybe the Knight of Cups is very charming. There's not a lot of air energy, but out of all the court cards with the water cups, like I think the Knight is the most associated to air, just because of how patient they are. To plant seeds and allow those seeds to grow with nourishment. But it's the proper nourishment that you need, and that's where the air comes in. So it's like you may just feel like you don't want to bring or rope other people into your interests just because it's not a regular habit or hobby that you have. It's an interest that you have. And so that's why I'm like collecting upon the fact that we need to consider that this is a reversal. Um, and you have the desire to explore this facet. Your emotions feel like you're not dried up, but you've considered all your options, and this is the one that interests you the most. We're having a conversation for the square that is after the Seven of Cups, which is where you're presented with options that you get to consider for your potential paths and future with your emotional interests and what is most fruitful for you. So, like, I'm not getting that the Eight of Cups is in reverse because this isn't a good option for you. I'm picking up the fact that, like, with this square, the conversation that maintains its relevance is just making sure that we're not, it's emotionally beneficial and emotionally fruitful for you, but you're considering other people in the process. Maybe this is just like a big, let me see the other cards. Maybe this is like a bigger conversation where you require the help of other people. I do have where the bow is, or the arrow. Sorry, this is the arrow. We have the Eight of Swords. So I feel like there's just this loss of acceptance with and this is a collective consciousness issue. When I'm saying you, like I'm talking to the collective. Like and the conversation that like is amiss here is just the fact that like sometimes we have to take into consideration the daily habits of other people. And if this is a participative agreement that you need to have with other people in order to hold these events or hold these activities, like this looks like a very public work. It's not a very like which goes in line with Aquarius, the Aquarian energy that we're tapping into with Pluto. But sometimes it's not that things aren't lining up, it's that the other people have other interests at hand. Now with the stem of the arrow, we have the Knave of Swords. Now, this is like, when I talk about the stem of the arrow, we're going to the base of the issue. Oh my god, someone's being facetious. Oh my god. I had to reconsider the fact that I'm reading from this deck here. And this person, this guy in the blue coat, is being so facetious. They're like, yeah, I have this sword, but it's not that big of a deal. It's not something you want to invest in. It's not something like, and like you're not causing drama. It's like you're shining a light on a conversation that other people aren't having or are sweeping under the rug because of just personal habits, social habits that they have. They're just, I'm not saying they're dismissive, it's just they may not be used to the conversation, so it's easy for them to disregard it. Now we have, like, with the string, we have the base of the string, we have the, the Nine of Cups. I was too busy looking at the artwork. We have the Nine of Cups. We have this woman here standing alone, thinking about like all of the complicated attributes to the she's thinking about all the complicated aspects to the context that you are providing. Like, they're like, okay, yes, clearly this person is interested in this conversation. But how do I proceed? How do I not upset this person because they apparently care about it so much that they're willing to go to the gallows and talk about this sword and be like, it's not important. You can't kill me. You're not going to get me. Oh no, that's not the gallows. They're at the puppetry. It's about puppets. Still in alignment. Still in alignment. But the theory is that like what the contextual obligation is she needs to know what she needs to do. Like, she needs to know how she needs to set up herself to at least be an active participant in what you're discussing. Because if it's that important and it catches wind, this person you already have the ire of the 9 of Cups. So someone who is in that energy, like, brings up just the frustration that there are like sort of like landmines that you have to mitigate in order to be successful. Because they may just have the emotional uphand upon the conversation, so they have a better tact than you may have about how to proceed. You're just being facetious, and they have an actual way for it to be coming into manifestation. Because they either know someone who is emotionally ready and fit to commit to like what you're going with, or you have like someone who has a personal testimony to the activity that they are a part of that can marry in with the ideas that you have. You may be talking to people outside of your group, you may be vocal to the people that are around you and that are your friends in your close circle, but this person could be somebody who is listening from afar, who can walk up and introduce themselves to you and talk about some of the things that you were talking about and interested in, because clearly it's something you want the party to be a part of. But again, with the charm, the person who's carrying the conversation is going to recognize the fact that they're going to have to recognize your ability to maintain a grounded nature in the conversation. Because now that you're not amongst friends, this is for this pertinent part of the conversation. Now that you're not with your friends and it's not as serious, it's not as serious anymore. With your friends, like now you're with someone who is trying, not like putting your foot to the fire, because I don't want to say that this person has the ability. The 9 of Cups doesn't hold you to obligation. It's about like the ability to be shared and have conversation about emotional interests. So it's like, now it's like you're not having your foot put to the fire, but it's like you get to have like a connection with someone who can further the development of this interest that you have. I think that's very fortunate. Like, the Chariot is in reverse. So yeah, I'm thinking this isn't a person who's from your friend group. This is someone who is able to provide you with information outside of that context. So the Chariot is normally upright, but underneath, it's like that energy is still present, but it's not a contextual agreement that you have made. It's like this is like you need to either do more research, somebody needs to fess up to a hobby that they have been a part of and been keeping secret from you. Um, and that may be like why the chariot is in reverse. Like we have the frustrating announcement that I have been a different person the whole time kind of context. Like, and I have been lying to you. So it's time for me to confess the truth and allow this to be brought forward to the party. Um, so yes, and we have the Three of Pentacles upright. The Three of Pentacles is depicted by someone who is holding out a scroll. I'm not too familiar. I haven't gotten familiar with this card, but it's like I'm thinking like this is someone who's checking inventory or preparing the ride for a because he's standing next to a boat, a ferry. So it's like he's either doing inventory and checking up on the fact that like yes we still have this boat or they're preparing the ride for the next day just by making sure that it's all taken care of and in accordance to the standards that you have for the product that they're selling. So I think that like with the research that you have to do, either amongst your counterparts or amongst people who are like part of the profession who can give you advice on how to bring about such a eventful, momentous occasion that is part of the community upheaval. Well, not upheaval, but like part of the community upliftment, like the livelihood. I think I'm getting more with this Eight of Swords than with anything else. I just feel like there's a doubt on considering the fact that any of this is possible. But you already have things to be rolled out. You already have the preparation for this activity to be considered. It's just you need people to express the interest and desire of it. I think that hold on, let me start with like a more lower level, like because everything up here was like upper, like we're looking at the sky here. Let's get into the connection with the collective consciousness and gain an idea of just what we're dealing with here. Okay, so I'm gonna pull for Pluto. We have the Four of Flowers. Four of Flowers, we have like, I'm picturing weddings, but like wedding is of course not to be limited to just the vow that you make with a specific romantic partner. A wedding is something like the Wheel of Fortune that allows for the attunement and settling of a particular interest that all of you are a part of. I feel like with Pluto, as the Four of Flowers has been assigned, gets a taste of sort of how the habitual habits of people will change based upon this new revelation or new activity that is made available to everybody. I think it's a very like the Four of Flowers. It is connected with air energy. Not the flowers, but the Pluto is in Aquarius. So we're dealing with the fact that it's like, I'm not thinking that opinions will change. Like, I'm thinking that, um, or like, people's personalities are going to change. Like, it's going to be how they show up to the table is going to be something that is alluring to the conversation and may even surprise some people. Now let's get a social card for the Eight of Swords. We also have the Eight of Teacups, but the Eight of Teacups is in reverse. Just like the card that we had earlier, the collective or the astrological context of this, having the conversation with the Eight of Swords or the Eight of Cups being in reversed, just goes to show that I think there are more people that are ready for this than you are aware of. There are more people who are ready for the change. There are more people who even know who what the change is, but they haven't even made the decision for themselves yet, and they're sticking to the status quo. Such Saturn and Pisces energy, we're bringing that back into the conversation. Like, it's not so much about privacy, it's about not initiating something before it's too soon. You understand something has been planting, but you're not going to live off of a garden on a day where there's no harvest and it hasn't grown yet. It's like you're at the point where I'm imagining like the fruit has budded or the vegetation has budded, but there isn't enough time yet to even consider harvesting it because it's still in development. I think that's what's being considered here. So this may be a topic of conversation. It just, of course, don't beat a dead horse. But like, because we want to maintain interest in the fact that this is going to become a regular norm. But the quicker that we get adjusted to it, the more prepared we are going to be for this investment when it comes through. Into actual grounding, intuition, into downloading into the consciousness of the collective. I don't know what this is. Let's see if we can find out. I'm going to pull this for Pluto. The Queen of Teacups. Okay, so this is like getting familiar. How much time do we have? We have that. Okay. We have like the Queen of Teacups in reversed. So like we have maybe potential artists, people who are like in the developmental processes of the developmental processes of the organization. I don't want to use organization because it already exists, but it's like, and it's not a transformation either. It's a disagreement amongst the councils involved. The collective consciousness of Earth has its own councils, and just like in spirit. And I think that with the Queen of Teacups in reverse, we have a disagreement with how the information is going to be received. So it's like, and that's sort of causing a disagreement upon the information that's being presented. It's like you have a grand idea, a subject, but the information about the subject that you're presenting as the Queen of Teacups is causing disagreement, disarray. There's not infighting, because you're all in agreement on the subject. It's just, how do I present this and make this most fortunate for everybody who is a part of the conversation? That's what I'm getting. So these are like higher ups, people in the councils of Earth, of organizations, artistries, design, like people who design stuff, governments, all of these things. Like, there's a contextual obligation to the subject matter at hand. We all understand that this is where we are going, like, but the disagreement is sort of like, I think, how it's going to marry with career. Because this looks like it's going to start out as an extracurricular activity that can become a hobby, even work. Because of course, as you know, like, if you can develop a hobby, it's going to be tailored into a profession. So like, but it's starting out, it's currently presently an extracurricular activity, but it's going to become something that can become profession, and even already has existed that way. But we need to figure out how we're to present this to everybody. Because the ship is ready. The ship is ready. I think that with other societies we have in consideration here, I think that they see the towing that you're doing, and all it does is just leave for further time for them to be able to investigate why you're towing and why you're not making a commitment to this. Like, and I think it's just economic. I literally think all of this is economic power. We have the Page of Flowers here. So yeah, it's just, I'm getting the kindling of the fact that you are like considerate of this practice, this medium, but it's the economic pride that you have that is getting in the way of thinking of another option that is still viable for the fluidity of the currency. Or not fluidity, the liquidity of the currency. And that just needs to be adjusted. I think we're like, no, it's impossible to change, but money is liquid form. So that's what we're dealing with. I think that with the interests of those people, we have the Queen of Spears in reverse. I think there's a lot of blame going on in this collective consciousness as far as like entitlement goes. People think that you're too entitled to the resource that you want access to. This resource is something that is going to be commonplace and common market, but it's just we're taking so long to get there. But this person feels obligated to tout at you. Like, I'm getting the Queen of Spears in reverse. And like, they're familiar with the mirage, but I just think there's, you have like, it's a very childlike energy to the conversation of like, they're calling, it's like a child calling an adult a child. Like, and that is kind of the feeling that you're going with. Like, it's, that is the, like, upsetting, like, upheaval of the conversation. Like, we're all working together, we have a conversation, but not everyone is on board yet. And so the people who know that not everyone is on board are starting to feel obligated to talk, but they aren't doing it. They're choosing not to talk about it, and like, they're saying it's just not the right time, it's not the right moment. And that's frustrating for you. I can see why that would be even harder for Aquarius. We have the Knight of Spears for Pluto. Like, because there's so much preparation, we're just beating around the bush. Like, we have the ability to have complex conversations about these issues because people think about it on the regular, but we just aren't there yet. But that is your reading for the collective consciousness. I would like to form agreement with Pluto and Jupiter in the conversation. And hold on, what did I just do? Okay, yeah, that's in the right place. Okay, I'm gonna end the video here. I hope all of you have a lovely transit. I hope you all will be able to resonate with this message. If not, take what you understood and apply it if it is something that is part of your desire. I will see you all in the next video, and I hope you have a fantabulous time. Okay, goodbye.